All right, welcome back, guys. Got some parts in for my fuel system. The first thing is some AN line with some fittings. And then this is the tank. I got Tanks Inc. So the tank is from Tanks Inc. And what I'm doing is I'm setting it up with a fuel pump in the tank, vice the mechanical pump that's on the engine. And I'll show you when I get in. So let me go through these parts first, see what I've got. It just came in yesterday. So this is the electrical system, or the wiring with the relay and stuff for the fuel pump. I don't know what this is. Oh, there you go. So you got that. It's all the wiring. Got some instructions in there. Got, what is this? This is a fuel pressure gauge. So this will mount on the fuel pressure regulator. Because this system is set up for EFI, not my system, but the actual pump, you have to regulate it down to what a carburetor is, because I've got a carburetor on there. What is this right here? Here's the fuel pressure regulator. And this is a carb bypass kit is what it's called. So it comes with some fittings, some AN fittings. I'm going with AN all the way through, the AN style. This is the fuel pressure regulator I got. It's by Tanks as well. And that way allow me to put the pressure gauge in, and then I've got my supply return. Yep. They gave you a little plug for it too in the event that you don't buy because I had to buy the pressure gauge separately. So in the event you don't buy it, it's got the little plug you can put in there. I kind of want to know what I'm doing with my fuel pressure. So the gauge will be beneficial. All right, let's see what else we got in this box of goodies. And by the way, this Tanks Inc., I didn't even know this when I bought it. My dad asked me, hey, well, how long do you think it'll take before it gets here? I said, I don't know, maybe a week. He said, where's it coming from? I said, I don't know. I went online. It's not too far from my house. So it really was here within the next day or within a day or two. This is all the fuel neck. So you can put that on like that. What else is in here? Oh, there's a vent valve, so you can mount that into there, and some mounting hardware with some Y, and then it's got some hose clamps for the filler neck. Yeah, let's see what else we got. Okay, so these are the rubber mounting straps. They are going to go with the mounting brackets. So I don't see any. Was I supposed to buy the bolts separate? Huh. I hope not. I guess it looks like that's the case. So these are the straps, the rubber mounting straps. All right, so here comes the good stuff. This one is the fuel pump module. So we'll see what this is. Be careful not to cut my new pump, because that won't be good. All right, here we go. So obviously that's the pump piece, but I've got the wiring harness for the pump, It's got the filter at the bottom. This looks like a rubber isolator or something that you put around the actual pump when you install it. A couple of zip ties, and then there's instructions. And then the pump, let's see what we got going on here. So the pump has the, I'm thinking I went with the 255 gallon per hour. I believe that's what I went with. I wanted to have a little extra room in case, I could have went with the other one, was I think it was 190, 200, but I wanted a little extra room. Now, what's great about this right here is it's got the fittings already set up for AN, so I can put my AN fittings in there. This is a vent, so I'll be able to set this up. Put this off to the side, and then I've got, yeah, I don't think I got the bolts for the gas tank straps. All right, now this, yeah, let's put that over here. Make sure nothing falls out of here. This is the sending unit. So, where are we at? I'm gonna have to go along, and it's pretty long, so I'm gonna have to go along and do some measurements and some cutting, I'm sure. Yep, there's instructions in here, so fear not, we'll be all right. Here's the sending unit itself, and that's where it's gonna go. And I believe this is set up for 90 ohms. I believe, don't quote me, but I think that's what I got. I got a 90 ohm kit for my Trans Am's stock gauges. So if you have aftermarket gauges, it may require something else, but I believe, again, don't quote me because my memory may have failed me, but I believe this is set up for 90 ohm. All right, so that's that. And then obviously the tank. Let me get the tank. It's kind of like Christmas, except, well, no, Christmas costs you a lot too, so. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to, I'm not gonna pull it out of the bag. Well, I probably should just look it around, make sure it's not banged up or anything, but it looks good. Everything I read about Tank Sync was quality stuff, so. And it's got this coating on it, so you don't even have to paint it if you don't want, because it's coated. Yeah, it looks good from what I can see. I'm gonna have to find the bolts for the tank straps. I just made an assumption. You know what they say about assumptions? Assume. You'll make a what out of you and me? Okay, put this bad boy back down in there. Keep it out of the way so it don't get all beat up until I'm ready for her. So these last few days have been hot and humid. We had a heat index of like 100 and, I think it was 115 one day. Heat index of 111, 12 the next day. And today it's supposed to be a heat index of 100, so we're getting cool. But then tomorrow we're supposed to have a pretty good drop off to where it'll be 50 degrees at night and then 70, 80 in the day, which that's perfect. Yeah, so man, I don't see no bolts, so I'm gonna have to find out what bolts I need, or interesting. Okay, so that's that. Let me clean up my mess here, and then I'm gonna probably start with assembling the fuel pump. All right, guys. All right, I'm back. So getting ready to fit the fuel pump to the tank. So the instructions are pretty clear, very clear. Got pictures and everything. I don't know how much I could mess this up, but I guess I could. So the first thing you're going to do is determine the depth of your tank. The depth of my tank I've already measured was 8.5 inches, or I'm sorry, 8 3/4 inches. So it was 8 3/4 inches. I wrote that down. There's two openings. One for the bigger one is for the fuel pump, and the smaller one's for the sending unit. So for the bigger one, that's the one I'm measuring. I measured both. They're both the same. So in the event that there is some variance between the two, but and then it goes on and says take the total depth, and then do the. It's got it. You got two hoses, right? This hose, the big thick black one, that is for your fuel pump. This white one with this black, that's for your return line. So basically you're going to measure the fuel pump with its sock on, and it really doesn't even matter if the sock's on, but I guess it does add like a 1/16 of an inch. So I guess every little, but you put your sock on, then you measure it from the bottom of the hose all the way down to the bottom of the, and what I came up with was 5 inches. So it was 5 inches. So you take 5 inches, subtract it away from 8 3/4, leaves you with 3 3/4 inches. So 3 3/4 inches is what this is going to be. So I'm going to have to cut this down from the bottom of this plate. Let me put this anyway. From the bottom of this plate down 3 3/4 inches, cut that off, and then when I put the pump on there, it'll bring it down to the depth of the tank. So you kind of want to make sure that you're going to the bottom, because if you don't get it all the way to the bottom, you run out of gas before you actually are out of gas. So let's go ahead and so likewise with this return, same thing. I already measured the tank 8 3/4, and then you just subtract 1 inch and then give it a diagonal cut. So I'll go 7 3/4 down, cut it, and then I'll have that done. So let me go ahead and cut it. All right, so I've already cut it. I mounted the fuel pump to the hose. You know the saying, measure twice, cut once. Well, sometimes I've got to measure 3 or 4 times just to make sure I know what I'm measuring. So I remeasured the depth. It was 8 3/4. But then when I remeasured, and I put the sock on it, and I remeasured the fuel pump, I came up with 4.5 inches versus 5. And when I did the original measurement, I did it to the top of the nipple of the fuel pump, and you're supposed to do it to the bottom of the nipple. So thank you that thank God I freaking remeasured it. Otherwise I could have come up a little short on this hose if I had cut it up where I thought I should have been. But anyway, I caught it, remeasured it. So now this is all set up to go, for the exception of the wiring harness. Now the wiring harness piece of it, it's not much of a wiring harness. It's basically 2 wires, but it's in a connector. It's going to go on to this. Where are we at? Right here? Where are we at? Maybe I should... Oh, there we go. Just at a cattywampus angle. and it's going to feed up through these two fittings. So I'm going to end up having to loosen these fittings. So I'm going to move this out of the way. So these little adjustable fittings are pretty nice. Just loosen them up a little bit. I might have gotten, there we go. I was going to say I'm going to need a proper wrench to tighten it down, because this is just a little too big. I just need to get it to break loose so I can do it by hand. Yeah, maybe I do need a proper, no, I got that one. It doesn't give you much room in here, so trying to, there we go. There we go. Loosen up. I don't really want to take it all the way off if I don't have to. Just loosen it up. That's how it goes. So I'm going to line up these wires straight out. There we go. There's one. And there's two. So I'm going to pull them up. Try to pull them up evenly. Oh. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot this insulator boot. So I was thinking I was going to put that on first. But now I don't know if I can take this as I really don't want to. Maybe I can slip it over sideways and get it on there. Yeah, I was going to put it on and then gonna, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Take that off. Slide my insert. So I was talking about this fuel pump yesterday, and I researched what it was last night just to make sure, because I told you there was two variants of the ones that I was looking at. And this is, it wasn't gallons per hour. This one is the 255 liters per hour, and the other one was the 190 liters per hour. The 190 was rated up to 400 horsepower. And this one is rated up to 650. Now, I don't have nowhere close to 600 horsepower, but I wanted room, and I wanted the duty cycle rate to be a little lower, because at 400, it doesn't really give much room to grow. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now we're in the game. All right. So now I've got the wires through. I'm going to give it a little bit of room. I don't want to have it straight up. I just want to have a little bit of flex room so that it doesn't stress anything. That's a nice little seal up there. Now I'm going to have to get a small wrench just because now I don't even know what size it is, but we're gonna try to fake the funk here. This one right here. No. Oh, it's 3/8. So they these little nuts are 3/8 inch nuts. So you're gonna snug these down, and by snugging them down, there's a gasket in there, or like I don't want to go too tight, just a little snug, and it will flare out. And when it flares out, it provides a nice seal. So I was looking at my kit, my wiring harness kit, and I noticed it had a breaker in it. And I've never used a breaker before, but apparently those were, there we go. Apparently I can put that in lieu of a fuse from the battery power. All right, so now I have the pump. Now I've got these fittings coming in because it didn't come with it, so I've got the AN fittings. They should be here either today or tomorrow, but I'll have those. And then what else was in here? Just the only thing I've got in here now are two tie ties, and the tie ties are to tie this to this. That's my cameras letting me know people are walking around my house. That phone won't stop ringing, I'm telling you. It's potential spam. That's what I get. I get spam. Well, my dad called just a few minutes ago just to let me know I had a package out front. Okay, so that's good. Now I can cut off the excess. And now my pump is all set up. Now it doesn't say which way this sock should be going. So this is going to end up getting clocked in this way just because this is where all my fittings are coming. These fittings are coming out this way. So I'm just going to go ahead. I don't want to push it this way because it might push up this way. I could put it back that way. Yeah, maybe I'll just leave it like that. I'll just leave it sideways and it'll go in. But I can't forget the gasket. I don't want that to fall in there. So I guess I thought I saw a gasket around here, but yeah, I thought I saw a gasket around here. Maybe not. This is starting to, all these little things. You buy all this stuff, and sometimes I guess the assumption would be everything comes with it, or at least should come with it. But it doesn't. It's not always the case. Just like the fittings on this fuel pump. It didn't come with a fitting, and I understand that, some people will be in, some people just want to put a hose over it, but maybe they need a drop down just so you can pick nothing or prompt you. Because without the prompt, I don't have gaskets. Huh. Was I supposed to buy that separate too? I guess I'll just use silicone sealant when I put it on. Like a fuel seal. So now I got to go ahead and, this is the fuel sending unit. I've got to go ahead and trim this to spec based on the depth and everything. So I'm going to let you guys go for right now while I fumble through this a little bit, and then I'll bring you back in and show you what I'm doing down here. All right, so I finished with the sending unit, and these are some of the pieces I've got left over. Took two of these little bolts and nuts out. This was attached to this, and it's 4 tanks that are deeper than 15.5 inches. My tank's only 8 3/4, so if it's between 6 and 15.5, get rid of this. So you just unscrew it, get rid of it. This is just the little pin that held this from falling out until you can put your float in. And then once I got my float in, so the tank is 8 3/4. So what you do is you measure from the center of this to this, subtract an 1/8 inch for the gasket that's there. And let me apologize. I do have the gaskets. I put them in a different box. So I've got the gaskets and the bolts. So that was my fault for shoving it in another bag. But you take an 1/8 inch off of that for the gasket, and then you measure down, and then whatever that distance is to the center of this pivot point, that is, you do half of that tank. So basically my tank is 8 3/4. I took an eighth off, it's 8 1/2. And then I cut that in half, and that's what the distance is right there. And then from there, you put this rod in, and this rod was quite a bit longer. I cut it off because I didn't need it all. What you do is you put the sending unit, and then you put it all the way to the I'm full mark, and from the top of that, it should be level across with, it should be from the top of this, it should be a level with this. And I put it up on the top of my cabinet there and rested it just so I got a good level, because otherwise your eyes kind of mess with you. And then that's your bottom. So your bottom will be the 8 1/2, and that's where you get your pivot from, right there. This is all done, and then I cut off the part of this because this was a little bit longer. That top bracket, I didn't need all that, and screwed this sending unit back in. So what I need to do now is, I've got this already set up. What I need to do is get the wiring. And here's something else too. I'm trying to decide, and I think I'm going to go side to side. I can't go into that, but I'll probably do it this way, just so that this is not hitting my fuel pump. But I don't want it this way, because every time you stop and rock, it will do this and fluctuate. It will still do it this way, but maybe not as much. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But I'm trying to figure out like which side that float is, because this is the back of the car, and I'm just thinking if gas is, but it's going to do the same thing. Maybe not as much. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I've got the sending unit done, and I've got the fuel pump done. Now I've got to get those fittings in, and I'm going to start running my lines from the, and I ordered those tank bolts, the new tank bolts, so they should be here today or tomorrow. One of the things that came in the mail, my dad called me, was I hadn't bought a fuel filter, and so I wanted to get a fuel filter for this, because I'm going to mount this underneath the, just make sure. Sometimes these guys send multiple things in one box, so I want to make sure I'm not throwing anything away. Okay, yeah. I think that's what this is. Yeah, this is the fuel filter. So I've got an inline fuel filter, oh, here we go. Inline fuel filter. They'll have a little isolating bracket on it too, just to keep it from flopping around. See, filters here, slide that through, clamp it down. It's got a pretty nice little clamp, and you put your AN fittings in here. So yeah, that will be, and here's the fittings right here. I've got the fittings right here. All right, no, okay, I'm good. I didn't get what I thought I got. So everything is in here that I need, which is the fuel filter. And then this is the fuel pump. So I'm still waiting on these two connections, and I think they're supposed to be here today or tomorrow. So for right now, I'm going to stop this, and then I'll clean up a little bit, and I'll bring you back in when I'm starting to go further assembling it. All right, guys. All right, I'm back at it. Got fuel pressure regulator mounted, and I got it kind of close to the distributor, but I really didn't have another place to put it, and I don't have the fender wells on to see where it would sit there. So right now, I think this is where it's going to go. Allow my supply line to come up, my return line to come up, and then this 90, I'll have it coming right along here, and then it'll go, and I'll feed it into the front of the carburetor. The only concern I have is it hanging right over top of a header, but it is what it is. As long as I don't have leaks, I suppose I'll be fine. I did one. I've never done AN fittings before, but I did one, and it went on pretty easy. And so right now I need to kind of mock up the tank to find out, and the filter, to find out where I'm going to, or how long that line's got, the initial cut's got to be, so I can put the other end on it. So right now I've got, well, the filter's right here, and I've got ideas. So I was trying to go along the rail, but that didn't seem to work out well. I've got the tank sitting here just for reference of where lines will be. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put it right here. That will allow that line to go down, follow that frame rail, and then I'll cross it over underneath the subframe connectors, and that line will come across, and then it will feed probably right in here. It'll come back in. So right now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mount this right here, and then that first line will probably only be like 2 feet long maybe, and then the second line will be a lot longer because it will feed from the fuel filter up the rail to the fuel pressure regulator. I've got different fittings, so let me put it down on the ground so I don't freaking crash. I've got different fittings so I can work with different angles, but right now that's what I'm going to do with my fuel filter. There's really not a good place, especially for a fuel filter that big, there really wasn't a good place to put it. I looked at maybe connecting it to the subframe connector, but then I decided against that. So it's what I'm going to have it do. I'm going to have it run right up against the rail, and then come up. It'll come up right through here, connect into the supply line. Then the return line will come right back down and follow that line down. So it'll hopefully be nice and neat. And I'll have it away from the header. The only concern I had about the header was if there was ever a drip, it's just going to go straight down onto the header. But I didn't have a whole lot of choices, because that's a pretty cumbersome fuel pressure regulator. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do for right now. That's where I'm going to have it mounted for now. It looks like it'll work. So I guess proof will be in the pudding. So I'm going to go ahead and I got all the fittings on here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the line, or actually mount that, cut the line, and then soft mock it up from here to there, just to make sure everything, and I'll give it a little extra play for dropping the tank, flexing, and all that. Yep, that's where I'm at. So let me get back to mounting that inline fuel filter. All right, so I measured out the line. It's roughly about 2 feet, and I gave myself slack like I said I was going to do. A trick I saw, and I can't take credit for myself because I've seen it online a couple times, was they put super glue around the outside of it, let it dry, and then cut it, and that keeps the shielding from fraying. I did it one time. It worked perfect. I didn't have any fraying come on and it screwed on just fine. So with luck, we're going to do this again, and then it's going to not fray on me. So I'm just going to put you can tell it's a little wet. It's funny that super glue activates as soon as it touches my skin, but when it sits there, it can sit there for a freaking half hour and still be kind of wet. Activates as soon as I hit my skin, and then it dries. But anyway, there I've got it. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this. So we're going to bring this over here, and I just have a vise temporarily C-clamped onto the corner of this, because I haven't found a place to put my vise yet. I think I might need another bench. But I'm going to put it in there, have it barely stick out from where I need it, and then I'm going to clamp this down, not too hard. You don't want to crush it, because this fuel line has some metal in it, so you don't want to crush it. And then what I did was, sorry about walking in front of you, but half my tools are on the other side. So then what I did was I used this, and I'm trying to figure out how to get you in the shot without messing it up, but try to keep it 90. There we go. Got a little burnt rubber smell, little burnt chunks, but look how clean that came off. And then what I'll do is I'll just trim these edges with a pair of scissors. So if I can get a pair of scissors out, oh, I have a pair of scissors. Just trim the edges ever so slightly, because there's not a whole lot. And I just blew on this end of the, I blew on this to get some of the dust out. And I saw a lot of dust fly out, so. All right, we're good there. Now, so they've got two types of fittings. They got the fitting that you can screw on and it's like barbed, and then you slide it in here and then you put a hose clamp on it, but I'm not going to use that one. I want to use this one. So what I'm going to do is take this, and it goes counterclockwise. So it's not like you normally tighten it down. I'm going to take this masking tape off. Hopefully, yeah, nice and neat. Nice and neat, look at that. Nice and neat. Get a little bit of masking tape. A little bit of masking tape soaked into the what do you call it? The stuff that was still wet, the super glue that was still wet. But that's okay, it's not gonna hurt. And then what I did, right, wrong, or indifferent, I took a little bit of WD-40, just a little bit, and put it in the threads of, put the WD-40 in the threads of the fitting, so that when I'm putting it on, it goes on a little easier. And then when, like I said, when you put it on, you start going counterclockwise, and you're pushing while doing counterclockwise. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get to the, there's a ridge in there, and you're going to push this all the way up. It's probably going to go up to about here. Where's that ridge at? Sometimes it's even hard for me to see because it's dark in there. And my other light is down below, so what I'm going to do is improvise, adapt, overcome, and use a spotlight. So yeah, it's right about here. So I still have a ways to go. And the hard part is convincing yourself you got to go backwards when you put this on, but that's the way it is, just so that when you're tightening stuff up, that doesn't loosen this up. All right, and then you can feel it bottom out, like it gets tight. So I've gotten it to the point where it bottomed out. I don't see, you can't see it, but now I'm going to bring it right back over here. I still smell burned rubber. I'm gonna take this other side out, this hose. I'll put this hose back in. Same kind of deal. You don't want to squish this hose too much. You just want to get it in there secure. And I use this cardboard because I don't have all that fancy AN, all the fancy AN blocks and stuff like that. So what I'm doing right now off camera is I'm just going to take a little bit of lithium grease, and I put it on the nub, and I'll show you in a minute, just to help it slide in there. You can use oil. In fact, most people do use oil. So here, I just put a little bit of lithium grease, and what that's going to do is help get it going in there. So I'll push it in here, and what you don't want this to do is you don't want this nut to separate as you're pushing it in, to separate from the hose. So you got to keep an eye on it to make sure that that thing's not going backwards. So I'll get it going like this. I'll put some tension on it just to get it going in the right direction. And then I've got, now you can get the ones that have all the proper tape on it and such. You know what I might do? I might take that one off and put this side on just so I don't get stuck. All right. I'm going with this one too because this is a 12-point side, so I want to make sure I've got, and this is the part that's a little bit, and you want to make sure you get this right, because if you don't and it pushes out, that's where you're going to have your leak. We're just going to shove it in there, and it should start to push inside the hose. The grease should help, or the oil, whatever you're going to use, should help to mitigate some of that resistance initially, but it'll tighten down and it'll flare out, and then it will lock in. And I'm keeping an eye right on this part right here, because I want to make sure that this nut, as I'm pushing it, is not sliding off the hose, because if it does that, then you're gonna have to undo it and redo it again, because that's not gonna hold. And kind of pushing in while you're doing it helps. These are kind of nifty. And then, like I said, this is the first time I've ever used AN, so, and the first time I've even, well, first time I use it and the first time I'm making hoses. But I can see the lure to it, because what's going to happen is it makes things a lot easier when you're working on it, replacing things. All right, so now here's where you get your anal part into it, or your, what do you call it, your OCD. You make sure that you don't have to. I just do, because I like the way it looks. But you get it tight, and that's the, right there, very little of gap, if any. And then I've got this lined up with this, so I just don't like my bolts all looking cattywampus. So now what we have here is a full line, and this is the line that's going to come from the gas tank and go to the filter. So that's my first line that I've done. Can't claim total success yet, because actually it has to be under pressure to make sure it ain't leaking. But it does look good. There's nothing flaring out on the bottom. Looks really clean. So I'm going to do this one, and then I'm not mounting the gas tank, so this one's just going to kind of hang out for a while. I'll probably just put it on the tank to keep the nozzles so dirt don't get in them. But then I got to run another one from there, from the fuel filter up through underneath to my fuel pressure regulator. So that'll be next. All right, guys. All right, let me bring you back in here. I've got the fuel pressure regulator mounted. This line, of course, is waiting until I get the fitting for the carburetor, and then it'll come around and zip into the carburetor. This is my supply line, my return line. It's coming down. It's not secure yet. It's just kind of hanging right now, but I've got it. Let me see if I can get it crawl under here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right along and then secure it up through here. It goes across under, or yeah, over top of my subframe connector. It goes around, and then let me bring you into the back. The back. So I wrote an arrow on it because the arrow is underneath this thing, so I couldn't see it. I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. So this is the supply line. This right here will be the return line to the tank. And then I've got that line that will come from the tank pump, go up to here. I mounted it's a vent valve. So basically if it flipped upside down, it's not supposed to leak, but it's just higher than the tank. I've got the power line coming down for my pump. I still got to splice it in there. I've got these hanging, but the tank strap's hanging, but I still don't have the bolts. They're supposed to be coming in the next day or two. Of course, everything's lined up here. This is my vent. I just need to put one line here, and then it will go up to that vent. Splice this in. I've got the pump coming up through here, following the back, comes down through. Now, this is just hanging out right here. But it comes down through here, follows that line. And then what I'll do is I'll have it follow along, and then I'll mount the relay up there, feed the power cable to the battery through, and then this will be my brown and white will be the ignition power. And then of course this will be the ground, so I'll ground it there. I did go under here and clean up some of the wires. A lot of it was speaker wires, but I still need to figure out, like, what's these two purple and look like they jumped the red one. What's this one? What's this? Oh, this one might go to my I still have to put my brights in, so it might be one of these things, might be the brights. And then, well, coming off that little like resistor or something, I had a power cable going to my amp, which is just as cheesy and as messed up as can be. And then I had another wire coming off of it, so I don't know what that was for. So I got to figure that out. The car ran, but I still want to make it, and all these wires are for the stereo, so I've just kind of hung them out of the way. But still want to figure it out, which wires are which, because I probably had a driving electrical fire hanging out under there. But little by little I'll get it cleaned up. But yeah, I'm done with the regulator, done with the filter, done with the overflow valve, the vent valve. I've got everything mounted in the tank. So now I'm waiting on bolts for my straps, and then I got to wire these in. This wire will be no problem. I also ran it up through here. I drilled a hole and then put a grommet in there. So what I plan to do is I got it zip tied right there. I put some sheathing on it so it looks nice and clean up against the back here. I'm gonna secure it down here with some RTV. But it does have a rubber grommet. I drilled a hole and put a rubber grommet there. And oh yeah, fuel tank sender. I found it. It was still on the old tank. I had to cut the end off and put a new fitting on it because the end extended a little bit because the old one wasn't going to work. So there we are. There we have it. It's coming along little by little. And of course, most of the delays are me not just ordering everything at once, or maybe not knowing what I want to order and kind of going it little by little and figuring it out as I go. It'd be so much easier just to add everything to cart, have it here, and then work on it. But sometimes I'm not sure exactly what I want to do, so I hold off on something, bring something in, and I try to visualize it because I don't have a laid out too big of a plan. So a lot of these little plans and intricacies on things are just as they come up. I try to figure them out. But so far so good. I did order a battery tray, a new battery tray. And some of these brackets, I was going to make them, but I just figured I'd get. And then this one here, radiator support. I have one here, but I don't have one on the other side. And they only come in pairs. So I ordered these and then these. Once the fuel system's up and running, and I'll hook a battery up to it, put some gas in it, prime it a couple times, to not start the engine, just prime it, see if there's any leaks. There's no leaks, and make sure my fuel pressure regulator is set to the right PSI. Then I'll go ahead and get a radiator and electric fan set up, and then get rid of the little fan blade I got going there. So cute. But yeah, I'll get an electric fan set up and new radiator. Then I think I'm pretty close to being able to start it up, at least to put it down off jack stand, start it up, drive it out of the garage, clean up around here, pull it back in, jack it back up, and start working on it again. It doesn't have mufflers, so it will be loud. But I did leave this on. That will eventually come off, but I just left these on temporarily in case I got mufflers. I want to slip over them for the temporary. But what I'll probably do is just eventually cut it off, or take it off from here and flange it up, and then figure out how I want to route my my mufflers. But all right, guys, that's it for now. Let me get back to routing this fuel system and getting it ready, so when the bolts come in, I can put the tank up. Later. All right, after about 2 weeks of waiting, I'm not waiting anymore. So I've been sitting here with this fuel tank for 2 weeks, waiting to put it in, waiting on some fuel tank bolts to come through the snail mail of the U.S. Postal Service. I always hate the Postal Service recently, just because they're inconsistent, they're slow. I ordered these things 2 weeks ago and I haven't gotten them. So everything else is kind of contingent on getting that tank up. But what I did is I went to the store and got me some grade 8 bolts that'll fit that. So now my attempt is to put the tank in by myself. And to do that, I'm going to have to kind of jury rig it a little bit just to get everything in. So I've got all the stuff preliminary wired up. I've got that, and once I get it to the right, getting it up in there, and then I can trim that wire that's going for my fuel pump. I got my ground going to ground, and then I've got a wire loose right here that once it's in, I can find a decent ground to put on it. This is my fuel supply line, my vent line, and then I have a return line that's sitting there that's hanging in there that will plug into this. So right now I haven't kind of hooked anything up, because once I get this up there, that's when I'll be able to tell how much slack I need for, letting the tank down, pushing it up. But yeah, right now I'm going with these bolts, and just because I'm tired of waiting, and this has been holding me up for 2 weeks now. I've gotten everything else run. Fuel pressure regulators in. I've got all the wiring. Well, I've not all of it. I've got most of it done. So what I did was on the firewall here, let me move this box away. What I did on the firewalls, I've got the battery cable coming off of the relay coming up, and then I've installed the switch right here, and then this is going to go from here to the battery, and that will be my 12-volt switch to the relay. And then in here, I haven't hooked up the ground or the ignition wire. So these two right here. This one, this brown and white one, coming off my relay. So I mounted the relay up there, and it's not tied down yet. Just it's gently in there, just because in case I have to move something around. But this is my ignition. This is my ground. This is my ignition. So once I figure out where I'm going to put each one, which the ground's not going to be hard, the ignition one is the one I'm trying to figure out which one I want to put it in. then I can cut these and then put a fitting on there and get rid of a lot of this excess wire down here. This is for my brights, so I need to clean that up and then get a bright switch. But other than that, it's looking all right in there. And then under here, I'll just take you one more trip. I think it's been a couple weeks since I had this video, but just to show you what I got going. I got these hanging, the straps on both sides. That's my vent that I mounted and built this little mount, and I got the vent sitting there. There's my fuel filter. Or it's already hooked to the fuel supply line, and I put a little arrow on it just so I know which way it's supposed to go, because the arrow is actually underneath the arrow that comes with it is underneath that strap. So that's my power wire for the fuel pump. And once I get it all hooked up, then I'll put some protective stuff on top of that, just so it's not hanging there. And like I said, here's my return line that will go up onto the tank as well. So let me get to setting this up so I can try to do this myself with that gas tank. All right, guys, hold on. All right, so you're gonna wish me luck here. I've kind of got things set up. I'm gonna take this cap off. I've got it set up. I'm gonna try to do this by myself. I know it's kind of awkward, and it's not so heavy, it's just awkward. You got to hold things up. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this camera here, and then you're going to watch me struggle. That's pretty much what you're going to do. I was making that noise, but so I got some kind of hodgepodge setup. So what I'm hoping is that I can kind of wire all this, get it out of the way, and then I gotta balance it. This is the part that's, once you get it balanced, it should be all right, I would think. All right. Well, that ain't too bad so far. We'll see how it plays out, though. It's on a jack stand with about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stacks of wood. And now, what I'm going to do is push it back a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have put this fill nozzle in it, but you know what? It is what it is. Now I've got to jack it up, clear stuff. Okay. All right, right there maybe? That looks like it might work, maybe. So, start jacking. Do it nice and easy. And so I moved the wood perpendicular to the can, meaning, okay, I've got over here. It's going this way for the most part. That allows me to put my straps this way, because if the wood was going this way, then obviously I wouldn't be able to get it in. Okay, now I'm going to jack with my feet, my feet and my legs, because my, come on now, a little tight here. There we go. Get it right. Get the nozzle up. All right. I don't want to curse myself or I say jinx myself, but okay, something's getting caught right there. Okay, what do we got going here? It's probably caught in the back, right? Pull it forward again. All right. Using my legs to, okay, I see what I'm hitting now. I need to, yeah, that's what we're hitting. You know what I think I'm gonna have to do? I thought I would be able to, well, I still might be able to. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go don't know if I'm thinking about what I'm thinking out loud, but I'm trying to figure out if I should try to tighten down these hose clamps, because yeah, I'm wondering if I should tighten them down now, because if I get them up there, I don't know if I'll have access to them. Yeah, maybe I will. You know what? I'll probably curse myself once I get it up. Let me go get the freaking screwdriver. All right, now this thing's starting to move on me, so I gotta be careful. All right, let's turn this around. Only thing is with a ratchet, you do run the risk of going too tight, so you got to be careful not to strip out your hose clamp. All right, that's good enough for now. That's good enough until it leaks. Right? All right, so we're back to where we were. I'm assuming, yeah, these pads that I've got right here, where are they at? I was hoping, I was hoping they had like a adhesive on one side, but they don't. Okay, use your leg. All right, it looks, I might need to go that way some. There we go. Now what the hell? Don't tell me this ain't the right hangers for this thing, because oh, you know what it might need? It might need to come this way, and it will come off of it. All right, I'm gonna let it down just ever so slightly, right there, and see if it needs just to come forward, and it'll come off a girth. Maybe that's it right there. Let me try it again. Leg up. That might be, yeah. I was on a ledge back there. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, let me see. Do I need to go in more further? Oh, you know what? Oh, no, good. Okay. So, like I said, these damn things, where am I at? Oh, you guys can't be out of that frame too much. These things have these plastic things on them, so I assumed when you pull them off, it would stick. But you know what they say? Assume making, you know what, out of me and you. All right, come on now. Now it doesn't want to come off, so maybe this other side's a sticky side, but I don't think so, because I was just looking at them. Nope. Yeah, I guess it will stick enough to where it will hold just temporarily. You know what I mean? Just enough, maybe. And then I'll just wrap it around. And then I got some extra long bolts. And the reason I got them was because I didn't know what I was going to need. And then I got some shorter ones. So if I can get this tank at least holding up there, I'll be good to go. Okay, where's that other bolt? By my head. I don't know why I waited 2 weeks to get a couple of bolts. I could have just went to freaking hardware store and got. try to do the right thing. Not that this is the wrong thing, but okay. Now, so let me get that out of the way and see what we look like. All right. So she's hanging. She is hanging. I'm just hoping I don't have to take it back down. All right, I'm gonna show you where I'm at after all this. So I've got this, and I probably gotta line these up a little bit better, these rubber pieces. But I got the tank into place. I have, let me get some light over here. So I have, this is my ground wire. I put a spade plug on for my power wire. So what I'll do is I'll take this wire, come up with an appropriate length, and then I'll put the female side on this, put this on there, heat shrink it, and then the same protective coating is on this. This is pretty good stuff right here. I'll put on this, and then probably run my ground over to where I'm inserting this. That way I can probably run them both inside of here. Get them kind of going up together. And then this is my fuel supply. And then this is my fuel return. And then I got a vent here, so I'll just have to hook a hose and bring it straight to, let's see if you can see that. Bring it straight back to that. So that's where I'm at right now with this, but I've got it up in there, and yeah, I'm glad I put the hose clamps on first, because that one might not be so hard, but the other one would be harder to get to. And then this is the for the fuel sending. I just kind of undid that to give me that extra inch so I can plug that back in. It's just a rubber grommet that comes through, and then it splices into the wiring harness right here. So yeah, the back is kind of marked up. And then I got this. I got a fuel filter, and I got some wire loom holders. So once I get my fitting for the carburetor, I can run the fuel line to the carburetor, finish that up with the wiring, get the fuel to the carburetor, and then probably put a couple of gallons or so in that tank, hook a battery up to the system, and just see it when it primed. I'm not starting the engine, obviously. Just as soon as you hit the key, it should, because I'm going to base it off of an ignition power, it should go through its cycling like any other fuel injected pump would do, and just do it a couple times and see if I find leaks. And I'm hoping there's no leaks on the top of that tank, because if there is, that means I got to take that tank back down. But wishful thinking, hopeful thinking. I've never worked with AN fittings, so I know that everybody raves about them. I want to make sure that I've done it right, everything up to this point right. But all right, guys, let me get back to it, and I'll bring you back in. All right, we're back at it after about 2 weeks of waiting on a part that I got the wrong part. Then I had to get another part. Finally back in business. So where we left off, I was waiting on a fitting and finishing my fuel. I ain't got this thing even on me. Well, I was waiting on a fitting and finishing my fuel lines. Right now, I've got these towels here because when I was priming it, if it was leaking, I wanted to be able to see it before it drained onto my intake. So, and this is just to cover it up. But what we've got now is I probably put, let's see how many gallons are left in this thing. Yeah, it's probably a couple. So I probably got about 3 gallons in here right now. I've got all the wiring coming up under here, and then that is my switch, but I've got a new one I can put on it. Just haven't done it yet. So I've got my wiring coming up here. This is going from the fuel pump. The orange one comes from the fuel pump, comes up to this relay. I just mounted the relay on this thing right here, and then I ran the battery wire through the existing hole in my firewall. This one is my ignition power. The brown is my ignition power, and then my ground comes down, and it's tied into the ground. So I have everything hooked up under there properly. The one thing I might have to check on is my fuel gauge. I'm not sure if it's, oh shit. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. Just ripped it on my pants on that freaking thing. That's why I got the cardboard on. But it's only showing, I gotta take that off and clean it up, but it's only showing like a 1/16. It might just because I only got 2 gallons in it. Maybe when I put more in it, it will register. Because I haven't got the fenders on or anything like that, I just got the switch mounted up here like we talked about. I got this wire just loosely running into a battery. I had to buy a brand new battery, and I use this right now until I have something to support it, which is normally the inner fender well supports it from in here. So I just got a thing temporarily. This was what I was waiting on. I got the 7/8 version, and apparently I needed the 1-inch version. So the only color I could find was red. I would have preferred black, but it works and it doesn't leak. And then all my fittings, what I did was I decided to come off. So this is the intake to my fuel pressure regulator. This is my intake, that's my return, and this is my feed line. And there's another filter. So I've got one in the back, and I've got this one, and then I've got these brackets. The brackets you buy in the package, they don't fit this size hole. So what I ended up doing is taking a piece of metal, cutting it out, and then trimming it to where I could use the rubber, and then I just put them on both sides so it's nice and clean. So I got a filter here, comes around, got a 90, and then it comes into the carburetor. It is shooting fuel. Let me see. See if, I don't know if you can see it. We'll see. I can hear it. If you can't hear it or see it, it's shooting. So, oh, stupid freaking, I got this strobe light going off on me. All right. So, come over here, and if you can hear it, turn the key on. Electric fuel pump is pumping, and I can hear gas sloshing, so it must not be that much gas in it, but nothing's leaking. And I'm gonna have to adjust this fuel pressure regulator, because right now it looks like it's sitting about 3 psi maybe. So that will eventually have to be adjusted. And I've heard so many different things, so I'm not sure which one it is. So by my 4.5, 5 would probably be a good fuel pressure for it. I'm not worried about it right now because that will eventually fix itself once I get it going. I put on the new hoses for the heater core, and then I tested out the fan. So the fan works now with the now that I got a battery. I'm testing everything up. So what I need to do now, before I go any further on this car, is, and all my interior lights are working. This one don't work, so I might have to check to see if this. That wasn't smart. I need a new cap now. Oh, there's nothing there. That's why. Yeah, that wasn't smart. I need a new one of those. See, it was dry rotted. Let me take the key out. So the buzzers work, and the buzzer was shorted out so it wouldn't buzz without the seat belt. And then I tried to hook it up right, and freaking so I just shorted it back out the way it was. Before I go any further with this, I need to get a radiator and some hoses, and I've got new spark plugs coming in. Should be here tomorrow, I think, but I'm not starting it until I get a radiator with fans on it. And the main reason is there's still probably a little coolant in the block, and I just don't want it spitting out all over the place. Also going to get a new neck, because the old neck is corroded. Now you could probably use this, but I don't want chrome. If I don't have to have chrome, I don't want chrome. And yeah, gonna get another one. So we're getting closer and closer to be able to start. And then another thing I need to get is mufflers. I want to have mufflers on this. It doesn't have to be all routed out the back, but I do want something on it so that when it starts up, it's not just totally rude. So we're making headway, not as fast as I wanted to, but that's more me and parts and ordering and not coming. I still don't have the tank bolts that came in, or they didn't come in. The tank bolts that I ordered like 2-3 weeks ago. Thank you. I finally went out and just got bolts and put it in, but I was trying to use the tank bolts, and they haven't come because they're coming through snail mail. So yeah, it is what it is now. I don't even know if I'll even swap it out, because what I've got in there is working fine for me. What's cool too is what I would think I was sweating the most of this whole putting fuel in the gas tank was cycling it on and having it leak fuel from different fittings, because I've never used AN fittings, so I wasn't really sure how tight you go. I don't want to go too tight to crush it, didn't want to go too loose and have it leak. So I did it, and understanding they're made out of aluminum, so you can't go too tight. I just kind of put my own little feel to it and said, I think this is snug, and then probably snugged it one little oomph more, and thankfully nothing leaked. I don't see any leaks from any of the fittings. You can see up there is my fuel filter. That's my vent, but I don't see any leaks. So because of that, I'm going to call this a win. I'm going to call it a win. All right, guys, finally got this off the check sheet, so I can move on to the next one. It's been a while and it's been frustrating a little bit, but you know, I can't blame anybody but myself on this one because of the timeliness of the ordering of the parts. And then I did order the wrong well, the first one I ordered, all I saw was Rochester Holly, and so I ordered it, but it was a 7/8, and I didn't realize this was a 1 inch. I made a poor assumption. And then when it came and it didn't fit, I was like, okay, so this is the 1 inch. So my Rochester takes a 1 inch. And all these lines, I think we talked before, are 6 AN. All right, guys, so I'm gonna finish this video up, let it go out, and then I'm gonna be working on the cooling system, and then as well, I'm gonna get some mufflers. Right now, I think I left some pipe on it, and then they're gonna come off. These are gonna come off. I'll get some more to put on it, but I'm debating on how I wanna go about this, but really all I need to do is get a muffler on it to start it up to be able to move it back and forth. Get it out of the, because I want to get it out of the garage so I can clean everything up underneath, because it's been sitting here since, what, last October when we moved it in here. It's almost a year. So I want to back it up, get it out of here, clean up the garage, and then pull it back in, and we'll continue on. But before I do that, I got to have a cooling system, and I prefer some mufflers on it. Doesn't have to be, but I prefer it. All right, guys, let me let you go. I've been rambling long enough. Later on.